Hi sewing friends, welcome to my sewing room. We're making a snowball quilt today. When I made this, I made 9-patch snowballs. So I have a little frame here to show that some of the darks are here. And then I alternated with this block with the darks in the corners and the center. And then there are some others where the dark there's not a lot of contrast in that one, is there? There's definitely contrast with these blacks and these reds. You can see the dark and the light. And just like a 9-patch, that's how I worked. And in the corners, I also alternated that little corner piece. And the nice thing about this particular snowball quilt is those little corner seams do not have to match. I think it worked out just fine that some of the corners are really tiny pieces, triangles, and some are a little bigger, but I love this quilt and I wanted to share how I made that 9-patch snowball with you. So let's get started. Here's what we need for our 9-patch snowball block. I have 9 squares 3.5 inches, and in this block I have my dark here on the sides, and I'll alternate for the quilt. I'll have some blocks with the darks here, and the other blocks would be dark out on the 4 corners on the inside. And on the corners of our snowballs, our squares, I cut 2-inch squares. This will be for the red, and I'll cut these in half diagonally like this. Here are the corners for the light blue. So I'm going to take my stack of squares here and just cut them in half diagonally so that I'll have some triangles. And when I place them on my squares, when I sew them on, I'm not going to be careful about where they are here on the square, because I kind of want them to be different. I want some little triangles to be small and some to be a little bit bigger. I think that just adds a little bit of interest, and it's sewing that's a lot less stressful. So I'm going to sit down at the machine and I'm going to sew all my triangles on the corners of my squares. So here's my first square, and this is the one where I'm using the lighter blue. So I will place the triangle face down on the corner, and it needs to hang off a little bit so that it will cover this red corner, and I'll sew it on with a 1/4-inch seam. You can always press it open to see if you've covered that corner, which we did, and just sew these down on all 4 corners. Now that we have all of our squares pressed, all of the little triangles have been pressed on, I'm going to trim. And I could use the back, and that would be 3.5 inches on the back. But I think I'm going to use the front, because when I use my ruler on top of these, it kind of helps push them out to where they need to be. The little triangles want to move in. So I can see the 3.5-inch lines on my ruler, and I will use those. I'll line them up with the 3.5 inch, the edge of my square right here, and I should be good to go. So let's trim this to 3.5 inches. And then before I go to the next one, I'm going to trim off the little extra behind those triangles so that it won't be so bulky in my quilt. All right, my little snowballs are ready to be sewn together. I'm going to start at the top and sew that row together, just matching the ends of my seam. I am not going to worry about these matching. I want them to be off a little bit, like I said. This is a fun quilt. No matching seams, except for the between each snowball. We do want those seams to match. Here's our finished 9-patch snowball block. And I hope that you had fun making that with me, and I hope you'll join me next time we get together to sew.